Happy Tuesday. At least it's Tuesday for me. This isn't really a happy topic. This is a kind of a sad topic. And this is talking about fentanyl. It's talking about drugs in general. According to this Daily Mail article, equivalent of a classroom of high schoolers every day are being killed by overdoses. So, drug overdoses now killing equivalent of a classroom of high schoolers every week. 9 out of 10 are fentanyl. Fentanyl kills about 30 teenagers and children every week, equivalent of roughly one whole classroom. In 2021, 94% of overdose deaths were caused by fentanyl compared to just 8% in 2012. I don't know if this is for America or for England. I know this is a UK publications, but this is just how serious it is. It doesn't, regardless of where you are, this isn't the way that we should be. Deadly fentanyl is killing equivalent of an entire classroom of children every week. Staggering figures show. I mean, that's more than gun violence. Fentanyl, a highly potent synthetic opioid that has 100 times stronger than morphine, is ravaging America's youth. So this is talking about the United States. A recent study found that fentanyl was responsible for the death of 1,557 children in 2021. That's equivalent of 30 children every week. Just 2 milligrams of fentanyl, imagining 10 to 15 grains of table salt, can prove fatal, and the increase of contaminating the illicit drug supply in the U.S. because it's cheap, potent, and keeps many users coming back. I mean, here's a little graph showing it. I mean, I understand why they're using a chalkboard. It's to really drive home. Let's see here, fentanyl death, 0 in 2011, and it just keeps on going up. Looks like it was going to level off, but then it just spikes here in the recent couple of years. That's about 70K happened. Deaths caused by fentanyl U.S. surge in 2010s, a start of a decade. 2,666 Americans died of fentanyl overdose. This figure shot up to 19,413 by 2016. COVID made the situation worse with a record of 72,484 deaths record in 2021. That's a lot of people being killed. That's a small town. Drug overdose now ranking the third among the top killers of children every year behind gun violence and car crashes. But I do predict that drug overdoses will be the number one killer of kids. The national drug overdose crisis has struck everyone with a record of 107,622 Americans dying of a drug overdose last year. More than 70% of the deaths were caused by synthetic opioid like fentanyl. Overdose deaths due to fentanyl far outstripped those caused by other drugs, including benzodiazepines, cocaine, heroin, methamphetamines, and prescription drugs. Methamphetamines. I don't know why I can't say that word. Report published in JAMA last year showed fatal overdose caused by benzodiazepines have increased about 7% from 2010 to 2021, while deaths caused by cocaine, prescription opioids, and heroin has declined. Dr. Julie Gaither, a pediatrician at the Yale University in New Haven, Connecticut wrote in JAMA Pediatric, Pediatric, yeah, doctors for kids. Mirroring trends among adults, pediatric deaths from fentanyl began to increase in 2013, resulting in more than 30-fold increase in mortality between 2013 and 21. A surge that began in 2018 has led to nearly threefold increase in deaths among older adolescents and nearly sixfold increase among children younger than 5 years. That's pretty sad, under 6 years old or 5 years old. In total, there were 13,861 opioid deaths in youngsters under 21, of which 194, nearly 38% involved fentanyl. Vast majority of these fatalities, almost 90% occurred in teens, ages between 15 and 19, while 2% occurred in infants. That's pretty sad. Under 1 and 4.6% in toddlers 1 to 4, also pretty sad. It was revealed last month that a 19-month-old baby girl died from fentanyl poisoning in 2021 when she and her parents stayed at an Airbnb property in Florida. It's not clear how the infant got access to fentanyl, but the parents allege in the wrongful death suit against the company that the property was a known party house despite being advertised as a peaceful place to stay. That is pretty sad. Fentanyl has devastated American cities and towns of all sizes. A recent government report shows that fatal overdoses involving the synthetic opioid more than tripled from 2016 to 2021, rising from 5.7 to 100,000 per 100,000 2016 to 21.6 in 2021. San Francisco, the West Coast, epicenter of fentanyl crisis, saw a staggering 41% surge in the number of drug-related deaths in the first quarter of 2023 compared to the same time last year. Data from the city medical examiner shows 200 people died due to overdose between January and March compared to 142 deaths in 2022. The amount of one overdose death every 10 hours. So every 10 hours, someone is killed from an overdose. I mean, it's kind of in the homeless area. Holy, no. Let's see here. Patriotic are urging parents to keep their children as far away from drugs, especially fentanyl, as possible, to speak honestly and frankly to their children about the threat of opioids pose. Dr. Scott Hanlon, an addiction specialist in Mass General for Children Hospital, Boston, suggested that caregivers ask teens what they know about fentanyl and ask if their peers use drugs or if anyone they know has overdosed and if they know how to respond to a fentanyl overdose. Do not try to scare teens. Play to their strengths. Equip them with knowledge and power to stay safe. Dr. Hanlon and countless other physicians have called on the public to make sure naloxone is a standard component of their home's first aid kit. The Food and Drug Administration, a key federal regulator of drugs, took steps to make the reversal drug, specifically a nasal spray formulated marketed as Narcan, available without prescription or even having to visit a pharmacy. Naloxone is an opioid antagonist, meaning that it works by binding with the opiate receptors to rapidly reverse the effects of opioids, the symptoms of which can include a slow heart rate, low blood pressure, and loss of conscious, slow or shallow breathing, gargling sounds, blue lips or nails, and vomiting. The antidote can reverse an overdose within minutes, but it only lasts for about 90 minutes at most, meaning it's possible for someone to experience an overdose even when the naloxone has worn off. Some opioids may also require more than one dose. To counteract the effects, Narcan is already available without prescription in all 50 states, where state leaders have issued a standing order for pharmacists to sell the drug to anyone who asks for it. But not all pharmacists carry it, and those that do must keep it behind the counter. And even without the necessary doctor's order, many people feel reluctant to approach a pharmacist for the medicine, wary of the stigma attached to drug misuse. Dr. Hanlon said most teens who overdose die at home when someone else is there and could respond, but most teens who died never get Narcan and are pulseless by the time EMS arrives. The FDA distinction paves the way for an antidote to be more accessible than ever in gas stations and vending machines. I mean, this isn't really a joke. This isn't something to take lightly. Let's see here. Alcohol is a drug, kills more. Address the alcohol if you care. Well, alcohol may kill more people, but I don't understand why this person's commenting. It's probably, look at the numbers go up with Joey. Poor southern border policies. I mean, it's not helping, but people stateside can also make the drug. Democrats fools want to take legal firearms away from people but don't care about fentanyl killing thousands of people every week. Where all are the if it saves one life crowd, the ones willing and eager to shut down businesses and schools during the pandemic are silent about this and won't say a thing about shutting down the border by allowing these drugs flow in. Person responded exactly. But it's not just in Mexico that's being made. It's also being made in a small town USA. There's a plane crash every day killing over 100,000 people per year. Something would be done about air safety, but this number is dying from fentanyl and the problem is not being addressed. Exactly, this administration doesn't care about our children being killed by these drugs. If they did, they would really close the border and finish the fence that the previous administration started. I don't have to do the repeat, but parents, here's a good one, from my opinion. Parents are the first line of defense. Schools are the second. In teaching kids the dangers of doing drugs, it's not possible to stop all the drugs being smuggled to the country, even with ones with death penalty sentences for the smugglers. Don't expect the government to keep your child protected from using drugs. 1, 2, 3, here they come to blame the Democrats. Lord, Republicans are ridiculous. It's not a political party issue. Let's see here. Going back to here, that was Obama. That was Trump. And this is Biden. So it's not just a Democratic issue problem. It's an American problem. And closing the border is a good step, but it's not the only step. Republicans have always voted to build a fence and wall at the southern border. Democrats who have all lived in fence communities say fences don't work and vote against building walls. That is actually a false statement. Republicans have voted against the wall. When Bill Clinton proposed a border wall, Bill Clinton, to my knowledge, is still a Democrat and was a Democratic president. When he proposed that, the Republicans voted against it. So, no, the Republicans have not always voted for building a wall or a fence. It wasn't until Trump came around and the Democrats were against the wall when they started voting for a fence. Let's see here. All the politicians were asleep and still are over fentanyl over the last few years. This is going to be a national crisis that threatens national security. Fentanyl can bring down the country, and this is a military-grade toxin. I don't really agree with that statement. Don't think it's going to bring down the country. I think there's going to be a lot less drug users, a lot less homeless people, and the productive members of society that are able to hold a job are still going to be here. Yes, keep voting for those Democrat and Republican folks that do nothing. I'm adding a part that says, yes, keep voting for those Democrat folks. Isn't it a great world when they're creating? Get ready to say goodbye to your kids and put them 6 feet under. You can thank plugs. Don't know what that really means. Don't really care, to be honest. Progressives are happy this is their way of culling the population. I mean, it's true. I mean, they do want to depopulate. Those are the newest. Let's see, where are the best rated one? It's interesting how Democrat politicians don't seem to mind about the opiate epidemic. All the kids dying from it, they're completely focused on the guns. Why are some children deaths more acceptable than others? This is how much they like the 19th century British-Chinese opium wars. Only this time China are supplying the drugs. I mean, that's definitely interesting. Well, they wanted to take away the guns because guns let people defend themselves and let them resist the government tyranny. Dems like drugs because they keep people doped out of their minds, uninterested in what's going on with the world around them. What our evil politicians are trying to do to us, drug users are a lot more compliant as well. It's the community that is happy to ignore everything that's going on so long as they get the government check to buy more drugs. Dictatorial governments love doped up populations. They're dependent and controllable. Blood is on Biden's administration hands. I mean, definitely. I care. We're aware of these lies. And TDS, we don't care. I guess that's. Let's see here. 3 days ago, you do realize fentanyl spiked under Trump administration, don't you? Yes, I looked at the graph and it did spike under Trump. He also brought it to the forefront. He was sounding the alarms. Overdoses began to decline under Trump presidency, not according to the graph. Bam, bam. So what's Biden's excuse? Under Obama, fentanyl deaths were 52,000. Under Trump, they climbed to 71. Sadly, since Reagan declared war on drugs and lost, the numbers have increased under every single president, while only a circa 3% of shipping containers are searched. Nothing will change. Blaming one president just shows myopic ignorance of the problem. This is actually a good comment right here. I care as a general in Biden's 50-cent army. No, this is really a good comment. Under Obama, fentanyls were 52. Under Trump, sadly, since Reagan declared war on drugs and lost, the number have increased under every single president, while only a circa of 3% of shipping containers are searched. Nothing will change. Blaming one president just shows myopic ignorance of the problem because, that's a true statement. It's not one single president. is to be blamed. It's the institution, it's the drug policies, it's the priorities that politicians take. You got Governor Abbott that is sounding alarm. You had Trump that was sounding the alarm. But if it's just a governor and a president sounding the alarm, but they don't want to make laws to address this issue, it's not going to solve the issue. The other issue we have is we got to find a way to wean people off drugs. We got to address why Americans want to be doped up. I don't know. It's a very sad topic to talk about drug overdose because it's not an easy fix. Because you got people that are dependent on it; they're addicts. You can't go cold turkey with some of these drugs. Sometimes going cold turkey actually kills the person through withdrawals. So there is no really easy solution other than medical treatment, but a person has to be willing to go through the treatment and get off the drugs. That being said, that is my video for today. And hopefully, if you're a parent, most importantly, if you're a parent, teach your kids to not do drugs and be open about it, be honest about it, because we got to protect our future. Losing a classroom of kids every week is not acceptable, especially when it comes to drugs. That is my video. Have yourself a wonderful day, morning, or evening.